In this Blender tutorial, I'll show you how to create this procedural lead material. And if you'd like to purchase the procedural material, you can get it with the links in the video description on my Gumroad store and Patreon page. Now I've also finished creating another 10 procedural materials, so I've just added all of these following materials into my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack. So if you're an existing customer of my Ultimate Material Pack, then you can re-download the product files to get the updates with all the new materials. And if you'd just like to purchase my 10 most recent materials, then you can check out my next material pack, so the link to that will be in the description. So after I show you how to create the procedural material, I'll show you how to join it together into this custom node group. So we have the scale value to change the size of the entire material, and then we have two different colors for the lead. So we have like color 1 and then also color 2, which is a bit lighter, so you can use this to customize the color. Then we also have this rust amount, so you can add more and less rust. And then we also have this rust visibility, so where the rust is, you can make it stronger or more subtle. And then we also have this rust color, so you could make it more of like a brownish to make it look more like dirt, or a bit more reddish to make it look more like rust. Then we have a few noise settings, so we have the noise scale. We also have this distortion scale to change the size of that distortion. We also have this detail value to make the metal more and less detailed, and then also a distortion value. Then we have the metallic value to turn on and off the metallic, and then we can also change the roughness of the metal, so we can make it more rough or more shiny. And then we have a bunch of different crack settings. So you can see there's these really tiny kind of cracks or just surface imperfections on the material. So we have the crack scale. Then we also have the distortion value of the cracks, and then we also have the detail of the cracks. Then we also have the detail scale, and then we have the detail roughness. And then finally we have some bump strength. So we have the metal bump strength, which is just the bump over the surface, and then also the cracks bump strength. So you can purchase this procedural material with the link in the video description, and you can also check out my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack to purchase all of my procedural materials, and you can check out my material tutorial playlist to learn how to create more materials. So I'll now show you what I have set up in the 3D viewport if you want to set up the blend file the same way that I have. So I went to the add menu and I added an icosphere, and then right behind me on the icosphere settings, I turned the subdivisions up to 6 so it is nice and smooth and round, and I'll just shade the object smooth, and then I'm going to scale the object down by a 0.2, and then hit Ctrl A and just apply the scale. So that's the new default size of the object. Then I wanted to model some like lead bars, so I went to the add menu and I added another cube, and then in edit mode I scale it way down. Back in object mode I moved it over the side, and in edit mode I can scale it up on the x-axis, scale it down on the y-axis. Then I can go to the face select and select the top face, and I can scale the top face down a bit on the y-axis and then bring it down a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is select everything in edit mode, and I'll hit Ctrl B to add a bevel, and I'll scroll my mouse wheel to add cuts in the bevel and just kind of place it right there so the lead bars are smooth and round on the edges. And then back in object mode I'll just shade it smooth. And then I just duplicated that bar a few times. So then I also added a camera, and I just pointed the camera right at the objects. And if you select the camera and go over here to the object data properties, I turn the focal length up to 80 just to kind of zoom the camera in a bit so it looks a bit more flat, and I like the look of that better. So now I'm going to go up into the rendered viewport mode, and for the lighting I added in this Machine Shop 02 1K HDRI from polyhaven.com. So I'll have the link in the video description if you want to download it. So what you can do is click on this yellow dot here next to color, and you can choose environment texture, and then just click on the open button and open up the downloaded HDRI. Now if I go here to the render properties, I went down here to the film tab and I turned on the transparent button so the background is transparent. And then also if I open up the color management here, I'm going to set the view to filmic, and I'm going to set the look to a very high contrast, which will make the colors more contrasted and saturated. So I'm going to click over here to go to the shading workspace, and I'll go into the camera view, and I'll go into the rendered viewport mode, and then I have the shader editor right over here. So I'm just going to select the object and then click on new to add a new material. And I'll call this material lead, and then I can select the other objects and just add the same lead material. And then I'm also going to be using the Node Wrangler add-on in the video, so if you don't have that enabled, you can click on edit, you can go to the preferences, and over here on the add-ons tab, you can go to the search and search for Node, and just enable the Node Wrangler add-on, and I'll show you how to use it in the video. So I'm first going to start by adding a noise texture for the base. So let's add the noise texture here, and then I'll just Control Shift select the noise texture, preview it. And with the noise texture selected, I'll hit Control T, which is going to add the texture coordinate and mapping nodes. And I'm going to put the object into the vector to use the object coordinates, because the object coordinates will place the procedural textures on the object more evenly. So I'm going to drag the texture coordinate and mapping back, and then I want to change the noise settings. So I'm going to turn the scale pretty small to just a 0.5. Then I'm going to turn the detail up to 10, and then I'll turn the roughness all the way up to 1. So we have a pretty detailed texture. Then what I want to do is just add a little bit of distortion to it by using another texture. So I'm going to search for a Voronoi texture and put the Voronoi in between the mapping and the noise texture. So because the Voronoi is going through the vector, it's distorting the placement of the noise texture. Now for the Voronoi texture, you can see that it's kind of sharp here. So what I'm going to do is change the F1 to smooth F1. So it's kind of smooth on the edges. Then I'm going to turn the scale up to 30, and I'll turn the detail up to 10, and I'll turn the roughness up a little bit to a 0.57. Now I want to control the strength of the Voronoi and how much it's distorting the noise. So I'm going to search for linear light. We're going to add the linear light node and place it between the Voronoi and the noise texture. And we're going to take the distance value and put that into color B. Let's unplug color A. And then what we're going to do is take the original mapping here and we're going to put that into color A. So now I can drag this factor around to control the distortion. And if I zoom in closely, you can see how it's distorting it. And I want the distortion to be very small. So I'm going to turn the factor to a 0.008. 0.008, so now you can see there's just a little bit of distortion on the material. So now what I want to do is keep the nodes nicely organized. So I'm going to box select the mapping and texture coordinate, and I'm going to hit F to join it into a frame, and I can give it a label, so I can just type in mapping and then hit enter. Then I can box select these 3 nodes, I'll hit F, I can just call this texture and hit enter. Now what I want to do is make the base color, so we're going to use this noise texture and we're going to put it into the base color here, and then Control Shift select the principled shader, but now what I want to do is change the colors. So we're going to search for a mix color, drop the mix color here between the noise and the principled shader. And we're going to put the factor into the factor of the mix color, and so that'll control what part will be color A and what part will be color B. So for color A, this is going to be kind of like a dark gray, and then color B is going to be a lighter or a mid gray. And if you want to use the same exact hex codes that I'm using, color A is going to be 2C, 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 and then color B, this is going to be AD, AD, AD. And then to make it look more like metal, let's turn the metallic value all the way up to 1, and we can turn the roughness down a little bit. So now what I want to do is add another layer, which is going to be like some dirt or some rust. So what I'm going to do is go to the add menu and search for ramp and add a color ramp and drop this up here, and I'll Control Shift select the color ramp. Now instead of using the factor of the noise texture, I'm going to use the color instead. So we'll put the color into the color ramp. Then what I can do is drag these 2 tabs together to make it a bit more contrasted. So I'm going to drag the black tab kind of over here, and then I'll drag the white tab over here. So there's just going to be a little bit of rust here and there. Then what I want to do is mix it together with the base color. So I'll duplicate the mix. We're going to drop it right here, and we're going to put the mix result into color A, and then we're going to take the color ramp and put that into the factor. So now if I Control Shift select the mix, so now if I select color B, this is going to be the color of that dirt. So for color B, which is going to be like the dirt or rust color, I'm going to go with this brown color. And if you want to use the same hex code I'm using, you can punch in 42382F. And I think it's a little bit too dark right now. So if I go back to the color ramp, I'm going to drag the color ramp tab a little bit farther back. So drag the white tab back a bit so it's a little bit more subtle. Now what I want to do is be able to control this outside of a node group. So I'm going to search for a hue saturation value node, and I'm going to drop one here before the color ramp in the wire, and then I'll hit Shift D to duplicate this and drop one here at the end of the wire. So now you can see we have this value. So if I drag this value up and down, that's controlling how much of it is going to be visible. But then if I go to the other hue saturation value, this one is making it lighter and darker after the color ramp, so after the contrast. So this way, it's not really going to make it more and less, but it's going to make it more and less visible. Whereas this one actually covers more of the surface. So we can use both of these in the custom node group. So let's now box select all of these nodes. We'll hit F, and I can type in color and hit enter. Now what I want to do is add the roughness value, so I'll just Control Shift select the principled shader, and I want to put a value into the roughness so some parts are more rough and other parts are more shiny. So I'm going to take the noise texture color and put that into the roughness, so the texture is controlling the roughness, but then I want to control the roughness values, so I'm going to search for a map range, and let's add the map range here in between the color and the principled roughness right there. So if I Control Shift select the map range, you can see I can take this 2 min value and I can turn this up and down to make it a bit darker or a bit lighter. So I'm going to make this a negative 0.08. A negative 0.08, so it's a little bit darker, and then I'll Control Shift select the principled shader. But of course you can make this lighter and darker, and you can also control the contrast by dragging like the from min and the from max. So if I select this node, I'll hit F, and I'll just type roughness and hit enter. Now later in the custom node group, we're going to use the 2 max. So I can drag the 2 max up and down, and you can see it's making everything brighter and darker, so that can be used later in the custom node group. Then what I want to do is add a bump value. So if I search for the bump node, let's just drop the bump here. And I want to take the noise texture factor and put that into the height value to convert it to bump data. And the bump normal can go into the normal of the principled shader. Now, if I zoom in really closely, it is making the surface just a little bit bumpy, but I'm going to turn this distance value to a 0.002 instead, so it's slightly more bumpy. Now what I want to do is make the cracks. So let's go over here underneath the texture, and I'm going to search for a wave texture and drop this here, and I can put the mapping vector into the vector of the wave, and I'll just Control-Shift select the wave texture to preview it. So on the X type, I want to change it to Z, so they're going back and forth, and then I'll turn the scale to 3, and I'll turn the distortion to 12, and I'll turn the detail up a little bit to a 5. And I'll turn the detail scale up to 2, so it has a bit more detail. So now let's take the wave texture and let's put it into the bump. So what we're going to do is select the bump, we'll hit Shift-D to duplicate it and drop it here after this one. So the normal can go into the normal, but now we have this extra height value that we can add data into. So let's take the wave texture color and I'm going to put that into the height, and then I'll just Control-Shift select the principled shader. And so now you can see there's those little bumps there, but the bumps are like way too big. And so I want to kind of change the shape of it. So to change the shape of it, I'm going to search for the RGB curves and put this after the wave texture. So what I can first do is click here to add a tab, and I'll drag this tab up a bit, kind of right over here. So almost kind of in like this corner here. You can see there's these like grids here in the RGB curves. So I'll put the first one right here. Then I'm going to click to add another dot here, and I'll drag this one up here kind of in this square like that. And so you can see by making it a bit more sharp here, you can see that crack is going to be a bit more sharp. Whereas before, if I just turn the factor to 0, you can see it's kind of round and lumpy, but after I add the RGB curves, it makes it look quite a bit more sharp there. So let's go back over here to the bump, and so on this bump value, the second one, I'm going to turn the distance back to a 0.001, and so that way it's going to be a bit more subtle and not quite as strong. So I'm going to box select these nodes, I'll hit F, and I can type in bump and hit enter, and then I can box select these two nodes, hit F, and I can type in cracks and hit enter. So everything's nicely organized. So that is how you create the procedural lead material. So I'm now going to show you how to join it together into a node group to add custom values. Now real quick before we do that, I wanted to let you know about my recently released Blender course. In this Blender course, I will teach you photorealistic interior creation in Blender. So throughout this tutorial series, I'll show you the entire process of creating this realistic kitchen interior scene. So what will you learn in this course? You'll learn how to model to the real life world scale, how to block out interior scenes, you'll learn interior modeling like windows, cabinets, and countertops, you'll learn how to set up texture maps and edit the UV maps. You'll learn how to create basic procedural materials like brick, plastic, and metal, how to add surface imperfections to objects to add realism, how to add decals to objects within the materials, using multiple UV maps to place textures, decals, and surface imperfections. You'll learn furniture modeling like bar stools, an oven, a fridge, a microwave, and more. You'll learn object and prop modeling like mugs, plates, vases, switches, and more. And we'll be going over some compositing effects to add more realism to your render. And you can find the links to the course in the video description. So now let's join this together into a node group. So I'm going to click and drag to box select all the nodes except the material output, and I'll press Ctrl G, which is going to join it together into a node group. So I'll hit the tab key to go outside the node group, and I'll drag the node group over here. Let's copy the name and just paste it here into the node group, and then I'll drag it out to make it quite a bit bigger. Now you can see it says BSDF right there, but I want to call that shader. So I'll hit tab to go into the node group. I'll hit the N key to open up the side panel, and I'm going to go to the group tab. And here in the group sockets, I'm just going to call this shader because I like that better. So now let's go all the way over here, and you can see there's a group input, and so we can plug up values to the group input to control them outside of the node group. So the first value that I want to add is the overall scale. So this mapping is plugged up to all the textures, so the scale will control the size of the entire material. So I'll put the scale into the extra socket here. Then let's click on the scale, and you can see it's going to be 3 values, but I just want it to be 1 value. So we're going to take the type here, and we're going to change it from vector to float, so it is 1 value. Then I need to turn the default value back to 1, but you can see the texture is still missing. That's because I need to hit tab to go out of the node group, and I need to turn the scale back to 1. Let's hit tab to go back into the node group. Now I want to hit Shift-D to duplicate the group input and drag it over here so we have another one, and then this one, I can drag it here into the mapping frame, and then hit Ctrl H to minimize it so it is smaller and looks nicer. Let's now use the next group input. So I want to add the colors, so I'm going to drag it over here, and then I'll hit Shift-D to duplicate it and drop it in here, and let's put it behind this mix. So I can take these colors and put them into the sockets here, so color A and B, and I can double click on this to rename it and call it color 1, and this one I'll call color 2. Then I want to control the rust amount, so if I drag the group input back up here, you can see we have the hue saturation value, and this is going to make it lighter and darker, so that'll add more rust. So I'll put the value into the extra socket, let's double click on this to rename it, and I'll call this rust amount. Then I want to control the rust visibility, which is controlled by the other value here. So I'll put the value into the extra socket, scroll down here, we can actually open this up to make it bigger, and I'll double click on this to rename it, and I'll call it rust visibility. Then I want to control the rust color, which is this mix here. So we'll take color B, put that into the extra socket, we'll rename this value, and I'm going to call this rust color. So we can now select this group input and hit Control H to minimize it so it's more organized and looks nicer. Now I want to control some of the noise settings, so I'll drag the group input down here, and I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate it and drop it here into this texture group. Let's drag this back up here, and we can maybe drag these over, drag this up so we have a little bit more space. So what I can do is take the noise texture scale, and we're going to put this into the extra socket here of the group input. And I'll double click on this to rename it, and I'll call it noise scale. Now you can see this Voronoi texture, if I drag the scale, it's kind of controlling the distortion because it's making it like more and less distorted because the Voronoi is affecting the distortion of the noise. So I'm going to put the scale into the extra socket, and this one I'm going to call it distortion scale. Then I want to control the detail values. So you can see both of these textures, the Voronoi and the noise, they both have a detail value of 10. So I'm going to put the detail into the extra socket, and then I'm going to take the noise detail and put it into the same exact socket. So this way, this detail will control both of them at once. Then if I go to the noise texture here, we also have this distortion value, which can be used to make it definitely look different. So I'll put the distortion into the extra socket. So we can also control that value. So let's hit Control H just to make this smaller, and then we'll take the group input, we'll drag it somewhere over here, and I'll hit Shift D to duplicate and just drop it down here. And then let's take the metallic value and put that into the extra socket, and then hit Control H to make it smaller, and just drag it down here. Then we'll do the same thing for the roughness. So I'll take the group input, Shift D to duplicate it, and we'll drop it here into the roughness. And the bottom map range, that's going to make everything lighter and darker. So that'll control the roughness. So I'll put the 2 max into the extra socket. I'll hit Control H to make this smaller, and I can just drag it down here. And if I scroll down to the very bottom, I'll double click on this to rename it, and I'll just call this roughness. Then I want to control the crack settings. So I'll take the group input and drag it down here, and then just duplicate the group input and just put it here into the cracks group. And what I want to do is I want to put the scale and the distortion and the detail scale and the detail roughness into all of these sockets, because these definitely can be used to change the look of that wave to control the cracks there. So I'll scroll down, and I'm going to double click on all of these to rename them. And I'm going to add the word cracks to the starting. So crack scale, distortion, detail scale, and detail roughness. And then I can select this group input and hit Control H to make it smaller. And then for our last group input, we're just going to drag this over here and stick it into the bump. So let's drag the bump over here. And so this first one, that's controlling the overall metal. So I'll put the strength into the extra socket. Let's double click on this to rename it. And I'll call this metal bump strength. Then I'm going to take this other one here, that's controlling the cracks. So I'll put the strength into the extra socket, scroll down here, double click on this to rename it, and I'll call this cracks bump strength. And then I can select the group input, hit Control H to make it smaller. Let's hit End to close the side panel. I can zoom out. I'll save the project again, and I'll go out of the node group by hitting Tab. And so there is the final procedural material. So I'll just review a few of the settings. So we have like the scale values. You can also change the color values. You can also change the amount of rust and the rust color. You can also change a bunch of the noise settings and the detail. You can also control like the metallic, and then a bunch of different crack settings to make the cracks look different. And then you can also control the bump strength and the cracks bump strength. And you can also help support the channel and purchase this procedural material to add to your projects on my Gumroad store and Patreon page, so the links are in the video description. And I've also just released another 10 procedural materials, so all of these new procedural materials have just been added to the new update of my Ultimate Blender Procedural Material Pack. So if you're an existing customer, then you can re-download the product files to get the updates with all of these new materials. Or if you'd just like to purchase my 10 most recent materials, then you can check out my next procedural material pack, which comes with just these materials. Link to that will be in the video description. And to watch more tutorials, you can check out my Blender Procedural Material tutorial playlist. So I hope you find the material useful, and thank you for watching.